Welcome back to Surface Unscripted, episode 102, and it's just the two of us, Casual and Brevan. No Brett. We don't know where Brett is. Once again, missing in action. Brevan, how are you feeling? You good?
Yeah, all good, all good, all good. Been a busy weekend, lots of rugby, even rugby for myself. But always cool to get together on a Sunday and discuss what happened on the weekend. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, of course, and we'll mostly just cover the main games that happened. We started this weekend off with the All Blacks versus Fiji, as expected. Kind of the three main rugby championship teams, all playing rotated teams, but none of them really played a weak side, if you could say it like that. And the All Blacks, even though we knew they'd win, they still put up a decent performance against the Fijians. I mentioned it in the previous episode. It's like, yeah, it's maybe not their full strength team, right? But if you go on form, there's a lot of form players there that you still wanted to see. We saw the likes of Bowden Barrett. We still saw Damien McKenzie. Billy Proctor was probably a standout player this season for the Hurricanes. He showed up. Anton Linder-Brown was absolutely insane. So a lot of big names still played, and they smashed Fiji. Like, they really smashed Fiji. I think Fiji, we expected a bit more, but they were completely played out of the game by a good performance by the All Blacks. What do you think about that?
100%. And I think it all just stems down to, I think there's all the talent in the world for the Fijians, but I feel like, and Brett is the one that really brings us up. It's more like Fiji are a team that it's almost like they have no game plan. It's almost like they play for, if you want to put it in recent terms, for the vibes. Yeah, they're just there for the vibes. And you know what? I think a coach that goes to Fiji and puts up a proper game plan for them, I think they could do a lot better than what they currently do. But look, obviously the All Blacks were always going to win this game. I think I even predicted them to win by a bit more than what they did. But nonetheless, to still put nearly 50 on Fiji, I mean, it's not a bad effort when it's not your strongest side either. So yeah.
Yeah, and I quickly want to touch on your Fiji point. Do you I see good progression for Fiji. We saw how good they can be in the World Cup and stuff. But the thing is, when you look at their standout players, they're more on the older side. You look at Nayanka Levu, you look at Samir Radradra. I don't even think Botia played or anything. But you look at those players, they are a bit on the older side. We know they are on the up if you look at their performances in the World Cup, but now they go and play against New Zealand, and there's two standout players on the older side. Do you think they'll take a bit of a dip now, or do you think they should try and get in some younger players, even if they go back to what they were previously, and then build up a total new squad? What's your thoughts on Fiji's future?
I don't doubt that Fiji won't produce talent, because we know that. But the thing is, can they keep their talent? Because, sometimes a lot of Fijians may move to New Zealand and end up playing for the All Blacks, or not all of them per se, but you get the odd one or two that do that. But there'll always be talent there. But it is a bit of a worry that majority of their star players are kind of on the older side, because you're going to lose experience and you're going to lose quality. So it's kind of, it is a rebuilding phase at the moment for Fiji. So let's hope it doesn't go too south, because I think they will produce the talent. It's just what they do with the talent that matters, to be honest.
Yeah, and a big thing for me is we've spoken about it previously. We'll probably cover this topic while we're in this break waiting for the Rugby Championship, where we talk about should tournaments be more open in terms of, should there be a promotion and relegation in the Six Nations? Should there be a promotion and relegation even in the Rugby Championship? And we want the teams like Fiji, Tonga, Samoa, Japan, those type of teams to really come through. And you kind of want this. I know we always say this isn't football, but what I love about the football in terms of the World Cup and the Euros is there's so many competitive teams. It's not that big of an upset if the likes of a Denmark goes and they draw or win against England, for example. We kind of want that in the rugby as well. So we need to get them more games. We need those guys to really come through and stuff. So we don't want the star players to be the older guys that we know, okay, we're not even seeing them for the next World Cup. So I want Fiji's rugby to really go through and be competitive as they can be. You want the standard that they set in the World Cup to be their standard throughout, right?
Yeah.
Not only just in World Cups, because we've seen teams just be World Cup teams.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on from that, we had the All Blacks, solid performance, and obviously they are on a 3-game winning streak now. Beat England twice. England, not an easy team at the moment. They really look good. England could have won either one of those games, but that's where you say like the good teams know how to get the result even when they're not playing at their best. That's a massive confidence booster, and now you're switching your team around against not an easy Fijian team, and you get a massive victory over them.
Yeah.
Like, how do you think the All Blacks' confidence should be going into the Rugby Championship now?
It will be high for sure. I think they'll look at Springbok errors that were made in the Irish series and kind of see, okay, work towards what they can do in their 2 games when they travel here. But obviously they start off with 2 games at home against Argentina. Now, I do fully expect them to win both of those with bonus points. From seeing what Argentina have been like so far, especially playing against a weakened French side, I do think the All Blacks have the upper hand. So they'll be confident. I mean, just to put it in short, they'll have a real shot at this Rugby Championship, which will be massive for Scott Robinson and as his first year as coach.
Yeah, and obviously the All Blacks are always the favourites going into the Rugby Championship. I think we win one in every 6 years or something like that. Like, they've got an extraordinary record with this whole thing. Because even if we beat the All Blacks, somehow we find a way to go and lose against the Wallabies. Like, when it's played in Sydney or something, we go in and lose against the Wallabies. But yeah, I'm sure their confidence is high. You really saw some of the form players standing out yesterday, and if you give Scott Robinson this year, let him just go, people get used to the system, they could be very scary. Like, I'm not talking maybe 2015 All Blacks, but you saw the depth that they have. Because you look at their centre combination, and it's Geordie Barrett and Rico Ioane. They are pretty much fixed there, right? But then you see how Anton Leonard-Brown performed yesterday. You see Billy Proctor coming through. They've got youngsters also performing. They've maybe got a scrum of issue now with TJ Perenara out, Cam Roygard out, and with Aaron Smith eating retirement. But now you see Cortez coming through, and you're just thinking, okay, well, that's Cortez Ratama coming through, and you're like, okay, well, they sorted because those guys aren't dead. They'll come back.
Yeah.
You look at the issues that they have in fly-off and fullback, but it's good issues to have, with Will Jordan even still coming back. You look at how physical they are at the moment, and it's like, these are good issues to have, and they could be scary, and they could become world dominant again, because it's not even old guys. Like this, they've not got an old team. We spoke about the South African team, and we like spot the under 30. Well, not yesterday's team, but it's like spot the under 30. And now you look at this All Blacks team, and you're like, shit, that's good. That's good.
100%. Like, obviously, like, you can never ever think, like, I think a lot of teams, including Springboks, I think England, Ireland, maybe Australia, obviously fallen off, Wales fallen off, the French, sorry, of course. A lot of these teams have caught up to the likes of an All Blacks, where they play them and it's no longer cheapers. Are we going to get the win? We can win, you know? That's the thing. So, like, when we play the All Blacks, we know we can get the win. When England do it, I think they can say we can do it, and so on for the Irish, French, etc. Whereas in the past, it was always like, gee, if we get a win, that's great, but we're just kind of hoping we can perform well. So, yeah, let's hope it doesn't get to that again, because flip.
But that's just kind of how we understand rugby. I don't like the fact that people think All Blacks, we can actually go and win. Like, it has to be a prestige thing to actually.
It does, yeah.
Because that just feels like how it should be. And the thing is, like, if you look at the top teams in the world, like South Africa obviously has a lot of depth, but we are a beatable team. Like, we've seen it, we just got beat. This All Blacks team could become that. Like, you look at other teams like Ireland and France, right? they've pretty much got a set 15, and then you notice quite a drop off when it comes to the bench. But they've got an extraordinary and world class first 15, but you know exactly who's going to play. With the All Blacks now, they've got an extraordinary first 15, and you don't even know who's going to play from the bench because it's like all the talent that they have, and it's young guys. South Africa, you know the first 15, you pretty much know who's going on the bench, but they're pretty much old guys at the moment. So we've got to kind of cycle some boys through now. But anyway, we'll just wrap that up for New Zealand. They might be scary in the coming years because we know the coach, people have been saying, listen, he's just a Super Rugby coach or whatever. You can't just say someone's just a Super Rugby coach when he hasn't even had a shot at international level. He's undefeated as an international coach now. Anyway, let's move on. We got Australia versus Wales. Georgia.
Yeah.
In my opinion, and I'll let you go first, the scoreline doesn't really reflect the game. That's just my opinion on it, but you can go first.
Yeah, like, obviously, at one point we were thinking, oh my flip, like, is this actually going to happen? Are they seriously going to lose to Georgia? But yeah, I think a lot of things, like a bounce of the ball, obviously how that try that they scored where it was quite lucky, where kicked the ball into the Wallabies guy, then it reflects back and he catches it and scores. But obviously, I think Georgia can hold their head high because that wasn't a weakened Wallaby side. But obviously it was a good game. Obviously, some amazing tries as well scored by Georgia. Like flip, there were some really good tries there. But overall, I just think it's good that the Wallabies are building some momentum because we want them back in the Rugby Championship to be the Wallabies that we knew, because we wanted to be competitive. I mean, it becomes boring if the Wallabies come to, let's say, Ellis Park or wherever they play and, they lose by 20 odd points because they're not the same that they used to be. So it's good that we going down there for both games in the Rugby Championship. And I do think it will be a test. I don't think we go there and win comfortably. I think they're going to be two decently close games. Still obviously have to think about a lot of stuff. But I'm glad that they're back on track, if that makes sense.
Yeah, even in their weakest, they had a 3-game winning streak against us, like in Australia. We have the knack of going there and finding it really hard. And I think this will be the exact same. And even though I will predict us winning both games, I would not be surprised if they pull one over us, especially in the first game. Because you think this is a bad Wallabies team until Rugby Heritage kicks in and you see what our stats are there. And then all of a sudden, they pitch up and they play some proper rugby. And they've just extended the longest winning streak in rugby at the moment with 4 games.
Nice.
But I mean, in the end, people will criticize this and say, listen, they made life tough against this Georgian team. Georgia did not play bad. As you say, or as you said, they can keep their heads high.
Yeah, absolutely.
But let's not act like the Wallabies didn't dominate most of this game, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at the tries that Georgia scored, they scored this insane try from 100 meters out, from a ripped over the line where the Wallabies should have probably scored, right? But it got ripped. And then literally, obviously, there's no cover defense. And the one wing's just quicker than the other wing. He gets that ball. That's why I'm not saying this is a world try of the year, because he kicked it over. And one wing's quicker than the other wing, picked it up, and they scored. So it's 100 meters, yes, but it's one kick, right? So you look at that, and then you look at literally a grubber through, deflecting off Tom Wright, straight back into the Georgian hands with no one in front of him. So it's like kind of 14 points that the Georgians got from that, which would have taken them to 15 points. And it should have probably been a try to the Wallabies. I'm not taking anything away from Georgia. I'm just putting it in perspective. And it's 47-15. And that would probably, in my mind, reflect the game, because I thought the Wallabies dominated. Now, I give Georgia the same credit as I'll give to Portugal for still having not like a giving up mentality. They still went and played. They still celebrated their tries. They knew they would most likely not win this game, but they still gave it a good shot. Never died throughout the game or whatever, or slacked like this is a massive loss. They just kept on playing the game. But this Wallaby team, under Joe Schmidt, they're starting to find their feet. They've got the chemistry going a bit. You can see there's a clear plan. They could do damage. What do you think their thoughts are going into the Rugby Championship now?
Yeah. Again, they play, obviously, their 2 away games are against Argentina. Their home games are against us, and then obviously 1 home and 1 away against the All Blacks. I think that's the best way they could have had it, because I think they're good enough to go and win there in Argentina. I think they're good enough to beat us, possibly. Let's just say 1 at least. And then there's obviously the Bledisloe derby, which is like, anything can happen, because a
There's
derby's
enough
a derby,
Australians
Well, not a
in New
derby,
Zealand
but a rivalry. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I think they'll also be kind of looking forward to it. I just think the issue that lies within Australian rugby, honestly, is being able to keep their players at the moment away from rugby league. I think that's obviously we saw Carter Gordon now, I think, is heading over to rugby league.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Australians that's happy he's not getting that 10 jersey.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I think they just got to keep a hold of talent as much as they can, and obviously higher ups have to back Schmidt. I mean, that's the main thing as well.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to add really to that. Like, that is the main thing for them. And with the Wallabies getting better, like, people will start supporting the Wallabies more when they see, okay, there's actually a clear vision. We're actually performing better. Like, the people wanted to start backing Eddie Jones because it's a big name, but now it's like Eddie Jones didn't perform at all, pushed people away even more. But now you've got the Wallabies slowly creeping up again, right?
Yeah.
And if they can somehow get a victory over the Springboks, you can really bring people together in terms of that. If they can somehow cause the upset of the century and for the first time in 25 years pull one over the All Blacks, who's also got a new coach. We saw what Joe Schmidt did to better this All Blacks team. He knows those players inside out. He coached them for 2 years with Fozzie.
Yeah.
So if he can pull out a master plan and actually do something, that's literally just one time. That brings so many people together. That gets people interested and invested in rugby union once again. It gets the investors invested again. So, I mean, this is a massive, massive opportunity for Australian rugby to really go ahead and put something together here again and really get back into what they once were.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add this game, or are we going on to our team?
Yeah, I think we can just last points on the Australian rugby as a whole, and then we can move on to the Springboks. I think if they could get a victory against the Springboks, win 2 in Argentina, and kind of just bring the All Blacks close in both, I consider that a very successful rugby championship for them, because if they can be competitive in the sense that they win a game against us, win 2 against Argentina, and just make sure that they work the All Blacks enough to make the All Blacks go, okay, these aren't pushovers anymore, type of thing. Then I think Schmidt's on the right track and heading to November to, obviously improve his record and stuff.
They could have a solid season. Like, I don't think it's too much of a stretch or too much of an ask for the Wallabies to really push for at least second place in the Rugby Championship.
It's a real possibility.
Victory over the Springboks, that could be massive, right? Because they would probably back the All Blacks to win 2 games against us. Like, that's probably their thoughts. And then they're like, if we can also pull one over the Springboks, even can Argentina pull one over the Springboks? Because Argentina also likes winning against the Springboks, right? So that it's all up for grabs. Like, it's all to play for. Like, the only thing is the Wallabies don't slip up against Argentina, because that's what they did, exactly what they did last year. They lost against Argentina.
Yeah.
But anyway, as we said, big potential for the Wallabies to move on. And I think that's what's good about getting the victories against the Welsh and getting the victory against Georgia. You've knocked over the wooden spoon of the Six Nations, and they'll probably beat Italy as well. So they've automatically got 4th spot in the Six Nations. So now they gotta move up. Anyway, South Africa, Portugal. First and foremost, we won 64-21. But I want to ask your opinion. We've heard some controversies. Was it a red card? Was it not a red card?
think this is. I'm just gonna spitball here from what comes straight to my head and stuff. Like, if I look at the incidents on Kirtley Orense back when we played Leinster in Leinster by Leinster, obviously in Ireland, whatever. Obviously, Kirtley did score that try. If you're not remembering this incident, anyone, basically Kirtley had the ball, he was running, Leinster scrum off, ran and tackled him. He still scored, but it was very clear head on head. And if I'm correct, nothing was given, eh? No yellow, nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah. So obviously we all knew
Might
that
have been
was.
a yellow. I'm not.
I don't think he
can't
got a
remember.
yellow,
But it
but like
wasn't
anyway,
red. The big controversy
yeah,
was, how is that
yeah,
not red?
yeah. And now I just kind of look at this, and whilst I do believe Esther Hazen could have gotten lower, I just feel like it was kind of a whiplash effect. I did pause my TV to try and see if there was very clear head on head, and there was, to be fair. But I
The initial
personally,
contact is on the shoulder, right?
yes, and personally, if I'm looking at that and seeing how other incidents have been refed, I'm giving it a yellow card. That
Yeah.
that that would be my call. Um, I mean, 2 minutes into the game, and you know what? You know what made it look really worse is the fact that when he came down, his head hit the ground really hard, like face planted. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure that added a lot to why he was so, like out
So
of
what
it.
I'm thinking is this is a very controversial thing as a whole, because in my opinion there is mitigation. His knees is bent, he's fully
Yeah.
wrapped, initial contact is on the shoulder, right? And I'm thinking, is this a rugby collision? Because when I thought initially, and I don't know if I still think it, but I don't even know, I thought that's red, right? Because of the fact that that guy was knocked out even before he hit the ground. So with that amount of force, it is considered dangerous, right? Dangerous, and it's a head collision. So I'm like, could you say it's a rugby collision? Do you have to give the red card because of safety? You just say, listen, that guy's just been taken off with a stretcher because it was a head knock. That's how dangerous it was. Do you just give it a red card because that was bad, right? Like, in the end, it's not a bad tackle because there was no ill intention. It was just going in for a hard hit. The initial contact is there and whatever. But it could have been a lot lower. Like,
Yeah.
let's not
Yeah.
beat around the bush.
Yeah.
So I can see how we say, listen, this should have been a yellow. This shouldn't even have been a penalty. Because I've seen people saying this shouldn't even have been a penalty.
No, it's definitely a
Perfectly leg
penalty.
legal tackle. But the thing is, like, where's the camera guy giving us the ultra slow motion where we can see exactly what happened?
Yeah.
Because why
That's
am I looking at everything like I'm in the stands?
just
What's
true.
going on?
Like obviously, you know what? If I look at the laws, right, it's obviously head on head is obviously straight away a yellow card, right? Straight away.
Yeah.
Then if there's no mitigation, then it turns into a red. If there is mitigation, it stays a yellow. They obviously found it that there was no mitigation and that he kind of just went head in kind of thing. And you know what? Like the laws say, if they do not believe there was a mitigation, then they have every right to call it a red. It was a huge hit. I mean, it was huge.
Yeah.
So look, I think I don't actually know what to say because like
Yeah.
you kind of
It's the
just have to
weirdest
accept
thing.
it. You have to accept it. Like
Yeah. I wouldn't have an issue with it being red. I don't have an issue with it at all. I understand it. And I wouldn't have an issue if it was just a yellow. Because it's that thing where I can see a ton of mitigation, as I just mentioned, with the knees bent and stuff, but it meets the dangerous threshold. Like that guy
yeah,
was gone and he smashed into his head. Right?
I think
If you look at
yeah,
whether it was whiplash or whatever it was. Did you
I
want
think
to add something?
yeah. Just I think the only thing that bugs me about it is I just know that next week someone may do the same tackle and get a yellow.
Yeah.
So that's the issue that
We
everyone
are just
involved.
like done with calling out consistency. I
Yeah,
mean, that's our major issue, not with the refs or whatever. I don't think, for instance, what's her name, Holly had the best game yesterday, and I said it
yeah,
on our group. But she deserved the opportunity there, and I'm not, and we were in the winning team. I just think there was some big calls that she missed, and at international level, that would be unacceptable. But she
yeah,
needs to get used to it. So she needs to ref more
Yeah.
games to kind of get used
Yeah,
to it. So I'm not going to
100%.
criticize or too much or
Yeah.
anything. Like, it is what it is. Like,
Yeah.
she didn't have the best game, but at times she controlled the game decently. So fair enough. Anyway, let's
Yeah.
actually move on to the game as a whole.
Bro.
We spoke about it literally in the build-up. This is a lose-lose game, right?
Yeah.
You win this game or you perform well in this game. It's only Portugal. You lose this game, you struggled even, and it was just Portugal, right?
Yeah.
There was a couple of boys that really stood out, and there's a couple of guys that had a shocker, in my opinion, or really struggled. They didn't do themselves any favors. But the
Yeah.
one standout, in my opinion, is your boy. I thought he had a scintillating game. He was my man of the match, Johan Grobler. Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I think just off the top of my head, Johan Grobler, Ben Jason Dixon, like those two. I mean, Ben Jason Dixon is chasing that 7 jersey. You can see it. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even mind seeing the Oak play at lock. Like, but the Oak is giving it his all. Whenever I've seen him on the pitch for the Springboks in the first 2 times he's played, like, he's just giving it his all. Jan Grobler obviously taking it. I think Jan-Hendrik Wessels did well at Loosehead when he's been playing for the Bulls at hooker. Yeah, and obviously Jan-Hendrik Wessels didn't have much game time leading up to this. I mean, he barely played in the URC. It's just, I think Rassi sees something in him that he really likes. But yeah, just in the forwards, just, yeah, I mean, it's obviously, like you said, it's just Portugal, but you got to give them credit. Like, you have to.
I was very angry in that first 15 minutes, like especially at the forwards, because it started off exactly the way that we said we don't want to see it. There was no dirty work done. We were not good enough at the breakdown. I think the most guys the player that we saw the most at the breakdowns were our wings. Like, why did I see Curtly Orense and Mapimpi at every breakdown, but not forwards? When we had the ball, when we didn't have the ball, it felt like the first 15 minutes was that situation where it was like, yeah, we're just playing Portugal. Let's see who we can get on the score sheet. And they deserved that 7-0 lead. Maybe not in the way that they got it with that kick through fumble, but they deserved it before that because they played extraordinary there where we defended well to get the ball away or whatever, right?
Yeah.
They deserved that 7-0 lead. And we were not at the races to start this game. And I don't know if there was a signal that finally came on, but finally we saw people actually clearing the ruck. And that's where we actually scored our first try, where it was like, okay, well, there you go. Because we just had a brilliant clear out. It opens the spots for us to go in because you're taking away defenders as well. You're sucking more people in. And finally we did it. And as soon as we got some structure in the game, we looked unbeatable with 14 players on the field and with 13 players on the field. Because we played 80 minutes with 14 and 20 minutes with 13.
Yeah.
So we looked so much better. Finally, when we got some structure in the game. But that's not taking anything away from Portugal. They were absolutely brilliant. Who was more standout players for you?
I mean, it's the obvious one, Sasha Feinberg and Komazulu. Like, dude. I mean, we don't have to really get into details about the kid. He's so special. But just, again, he's showing such maturity. I know it's just Portugal, but to still put a bomb of a 50-22 and also just his assist to Mapimpi, like, the kid is super special.
Even that nonchalant dink that he put over the top at the end of the game for Curtly Orense where he stepped out.
Yeah. Like, he's just super good. You know what? Like, this is also, like, where I'm really torn here because I've seen a lot of opinion on this and stuff. Marnie Libok in open play for the Springboks is good. I enjoy it. He really can be a 10 in open play. But the issue still lies with the kicking, man. Like, it's...
If we were like the All Blacks that had a lot of different options to kick
that's
a
the
goal.
thing. I saw this opinion. I said, why isn't Marnie given the 10 jersey, and then you kind of delegate the kicking duties to someone else? Because you could do that if Willemse is, but even Willemse, he's not hot. He's not hot off the 10. But that's the thing.
I'd rather have
I
someone who
can't.
will take the kicking duties than
Oh my
Willemse.
gosh.
I
The
mean,
thing is, I can't have my 10 if we don't have anyone else in a position that can kick, not be able to kick, which
yeah,
is
no, I
why I
get you.
think Sasha needs to be the guy going forward. Like, if you
Yeah.
get what I'm saying.
No, I
But
I
it's a
fully agree
shame.
with you.
It's a
Because
shame
I think
because
every time that Sasha kicked that ball over the goal, right, or over the post, Marnie's heart sank a bit more every
yeah,
single time because he was Marnie had. I know I saw it on a video that I posted on Casual, right, where people's like, you can't say Marcus Smith had a good game because he missed kicks in the first game, and I was like, well, yeah, because it's his role, right? But if you take away the role of kicking to the post, Marnie had a scintillating game. He really
dude.
dominated the way that we played. He was so good yesterday. And it's
Yeah.
just too bad that he kicked the two from the touchline. He kicked over. The easy ones he missed. Like, make
Yeah.
it make sense, right?
It's just it's lack of consistency off the tee. That's the issue. We know he can kick the difficult ones, but I do think there's a mental switch somewhere there that struggles. And you know what? I mean, it's something that could be fixed, but I just think it's a mental thing that needs to be fixed. But like I said, until there is someone else who would be able to take the kicks, I just don't think it makes sense. It doesn't make sense because
Yeah.
test matches do unfortunately 80, 70 to 80% of the time come down to kicks. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just how it
You need
is.
a reliable kicker.
Yeah. So yeah, it's unfortunate that the kicking wasn't up to standard, but he's clear that he in open play he is a great fly off, and
Yeah.
that can be given.
And listen, I know we want to see Sasha at 10. He is the future 10. Like, I won't let my mind think anything else. But if we play the likes of Argentina, I would not mind seeing, because you don't want to. If you can take the kicking away from Marnie, that would actually be ideal. I wouldn't mind seeing the likes of a Marnie at 10 and Sasha playing at 15. Right? I know Fussy will probably play at 15, and I know we don't want to see Sasha there. But if you want to give Marnie just some freedom to actually go and express himself there in that 10 jersey, take away some of the pressure of the kicking and stuff, that's always an option that we could go to. Um, but yeah, it is tough. I feel bad
Mm,
for the guy because I was like, I
mm,
was watching that and I was like, oh my goodness,
yeah, it
what
does.
is going on over here? Anyways, two players that I want to bring up to you, and we won't speak about this game too much longer. In the end, it is just one of those games. Mapimpi once again going into fourth place for the top try scorers ever. It's got the highest average and whatever. But the two players I want to speak about, Ivan Roos,
Mm,
Salman Murat.
okay,
I'll go first, right?
yeah, go for it.
And I said it yesterday as well, and someone said he might have watched a different game, but Ivan Roos didn't do himself any favors yesterday. And I'm the
No,
biggest Ivan Roos fan. I've been calling him to get that number 8 jersey for the Springboks. But when we said before the game he needs to do the dirty work, he did not do the dirty work yesterday. And every time that ball came to the breakdown, he just picked up and drived and got absolutely nowhere. And he was the first player subbed. And that I did not think he's getting subbed yesterday. I thought Elrich Lowe might come on for Ben Jason Dixon or Pepsi Buthelezi, not going to that 8 position. What was
yeah,
your thoughts?
yeah. Like I was also really trying to advocate for Ivan Roos, but it's so tough. I mean, people are gonna say, is he test quality? Is he able to do it? And then I think we can see why Dwayne was so important, and we can also possibly see why Jasper gets chosen ahead of Ruiz as well, because it's just I think Jasper brings as much as probably didn't have the greatest couple past games for the Springboks. I still think he brings more maturity in the sense that there's something he does within his physicality that's I'm not going to mince my words here, but he's more composed. Let me put it to you that way. Yes, he gives away a lot of penalties sometimes, but I just think he's more composed, and I feel like even Royce is just he's erratic. He chases things possibly too much.
Yeah.
Um, So
It's
I don't
almost
know.
like he doesn't always have a clear mind in terms
Yeah,
of
yeah. It's almost
what
like
is expected right now in this second of
yeah,
him. And I think he knew exactly what was expected of him, but when it comes to in that moment, he sees the ball and he's like, I want to pick this up and I want to run through people.
yeah.
That is kind of just, obviously, I don't know, but that's just kind of what I thought while I was watching it. And I'm desperate for Evan Roos to get that 8 jersey. Like, I really like the guy. I really rate him. And I'd want him to carry over that what's it, URC form that he had into the Springboks jersey.
Mm.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how
Yeah,
to
I think
judge
you know
him
what.
based after
At the end of
yesterday.
the day, I just he didn't have a fantastic game to his standards yesterday. Absolutely. But hopefully there is a shot that he gets again where he can take it because he's a young talent. Like there's no doubt about it. He's young. He's talented. And if he can just mature a bit, like he's matured a lot, but if he could just mature that bit, because if you look at like I know it's different positions, but if you look at Sasha compared to Ivan, you can see Sasha's a bit more mature already in that test position than
Yeah,
Ivan is. And that's it's just a sense of maturity in something. It could be defense,
yeah.
maybe just focusing a bit more on your defense. Don't worry about, having to break through the hole every time. Stick to the plan type of thing, and maybe
I just
that's
think
all
this
that's
was the
really needed.
perfect. These past couple of games and stuff was the perfect opportunity for Ivan to stand out with no threat of Jasper there.
Mm.
I know he didn't get the opportunity to play, but was it because he didn't train well? I don't know, right? Because there was no Jasper. Kwagga didn't have his best game, so he could have stood out here. And he knows Cameron Hanekom isn't in the squad, but he's going to be on their asshole come next year,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And now I'm just thinking, well, obviously some of them can switch and play 6 and whatever. I don't expect Siakulisi to still be playing for the longest time. But yeah, it was kind of a breakthrough opportunity. But anyway, we support Yaban and we want him to do well. That's kind of why we are criticizing his performance
yeah,
of yesterday. Someone that had a really up and down game for me, and this is the second player, was our captain, Salman Murad. And I nearly threw a massive hissy fit when they pointed to goal 50 meters out. And I was like, why are we doing this against Portugal? Anyway, that guy had some of the best getting and popping it behind him, right? For Mani Lobok to get some
yeah,
room. But he had some of the worst contact that I've ever seen. His physicality was just not there. It was
yeah.
I don't know what I was watching. I thought I saw a million pop passes, but no actual carries from him. What was your thoughts on Salman's game?
Yeah, so like this is the thing, right? You kind of look at Murat who he's a four lock. I mean, he's big enough as a four lock. I don't see him as a five lock. But it's the physicality that bugs me. That's the one thing that really bugs me. Like we can praise the you play the ball out the back to Barney type thing, but that's
Frans Malherbe can do that.
we all do that. Like you could do that. I swear. I do it for my like. It's just how it's a simple move you train in every training session,
Yeah.
but it's the physicality that just kind of bugs me, right? Obviously, you can only be proud of the Oak for being a Springbok captain and stuff, and obviously as a Stormers boy, like you can only be proud of that. But it's just, I think it's also difficult because you look at Eben Etzebeth and you look at the locks and Buckysport, the 4 locks that we've produced, Willem Alberts. These are all Oaks that are enforcers. Like they don't go on the field and when they're
Well, they
physical,
smashed.
they are
They played to kill.
physical Oaks.
Yeah.
And that's just what I don't see in Murat. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's just me. Yeah, I
Like
mean that's
yesterday,
where I'll leave
the
it.
perfect example kind of was when he got the ball yesterday one time and he did like 3 seconds of side shuffles before he actually ran forward. Did you see that in the second half? Like
Yeah.
just outside the 22, he got the ball, did this thing where you like warm up and you side shuffle where people like look this way, and the people do that. I was like, what is this guy doing? Like
Yeah.
seriously,
Yeah.
run at these guys. Look how we dominated them physically, and yet
I
I
mean,
didn't see Murad dominate a
yeah.
single thing.
Yeah, the guy is big. Like he's a big 4 lock, and he's tall and he's large. I think he just needs to back himself. Like I've been in a situation when I first got into senior rugby, and playing first team. Like when you first run at Oaks, like you actually start to question yourself because you come from this junior level, and then you're running at these Oaks, and you're like, can I actually can I gain yards? And it took me a while to eventually realize like you can, right? So I think it's also just another mental switch where he kind of just has to realize he's a big guy, he's strong, he trains hard as obviously as a professional rugby player. Back yourself, you know. And look, even Etzebeth gets taken back in tackles every now and then. It happens. But back yourself. Like that's all you can really say to someone is back your size, back your ability, back your strength. And as a 4-lock in the Springboks, we want you to be that enforcer. So just something to work on if it was me.
Yeah. And then we'll wrap it up. I just want to give a final shout out to RG Snyman, the Viking taking on 4 people. Obviously he got tripped. Like
Yeah, he got tripped at the leg sweep.
I was like, what? What did I just watch? Anyway, him and Lucanio Arm. Bro, how he covered both centers and wing at certain points in this game.
Yeah.
Extraordinary.
Just a senior player, yeah. Just proper.
And he looked, I know it's just Portugal, as we said, but he looked back to the Lucanio Arm that we know and love. And we want that, like we want competition in those positions, right? Which is absolutely brilliant. And then if you think a fit Henku van Wyk, you might have 3 of the best outside centers to choose from, literally every single game. Anyway, or even Kanan Moody if you want to play him at outside center. I wouldn't.
No, don't do that, yeah.
Yeah, let's not do that. Anyway, as always, people, thank you very much for watching. We do love and appreciate all of you, and stay tuned for Wednesday. Thank you.
Yes, cheers.